My best friend suddenly started wearing designer clothes and cutting everyone off. When I showed up to her house unannounced, I found her with a much older man, and she looked terrified. I tried to help her escape, but what she confessed in the bathroom the next day broke me. You ever watch someone disappear right in front of you? Not like vanish into thin air, but piece by piece, like someone turning down the dimmer switch on their soul. That's what it felt like, watching Lily change. And the worst part? I didn't realize what I was seeing until it was way too late. I met Lily in 7th grade. She was the loud one, the kind of girl who laughed so hard she snorted and didn't care who was listening. We were opposites. I was quieter, more of a keep your head down kind of person. But she dragged me into her world and never let go. That's who she was. That's what made the change so jarring. It started junior year, first week back from summer. Everyone was still comparing tan lines and fake IDs. And then Lily walked into first period wearing a designer hoodie. I'm talking Gucci. Real deal Gucci. I saw the tag. And my first thought was, what the hell? Lily and I knew each other's closets inside and out. Neither of us had the kind of money for that. Her mom worked double shifts at the diner and mine cleaned houses. We bonded over thrift stores and hand-me-downs. So seeing her in something that costs more than my laptop, it didn't make sense. When I asked, she brushed it off. Oh, she said, laughing. My mom's new boyfriend is rich. He's trying to win me over or whatever. She said it like it was a joke, like it was no big deal. I let it go at first. Maybe she got lucky. Maybe this guy was just generous. But then came the necklace. Real silver, then earrings, then a bag. Michael Kors. I tried not to judge. God knows I wanted good things for her. But then, her smile. It wasn't Lily's smile anymore. You know how you can just tell when someone's faking? Her cheeks lifted, but her eyes didn't follow. And she started acting weird, snapping at people, ducking out of group hangs early. She even skipped our usual after-school hangout at the smoothie place. Then came the big red flag. I tagged her in a post on Instagram, a picture from freshman year. She used to love that one. 10 minutes later, I noticed she'd unfollowed me. My chest sank like a stone. At first, I told myself it was a mistake. Maybe she was cleaning out her feed, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I tried asking again. I caught her by her locker one morning, held out a friendship bracelet she gave me in 8th grade. Hey, I said, can we talk? She barely looked up, just muttered, busy? And slammed her locker shut. After that, I couldn't sit still. I scrolled through her stories on burner accounts just to get a glimpse of her life. That's how bad it got. I started noticing the background in her photos. Same couch, same granite countertop. Not her mom's place. And then one night, I snapped. I baked a batch of crappy sugar cookies from a box mix, burned the edges too, and wrapped them in foil like a peace offering. Drove straight to her house without texting first. Her mom's car wasn't in the driveway. The porch light was off. I almost left. But something told me, knock. The door opened after one ring. And the man who answered wasn't Lily's stepdad. Wasn't anyone I'd ever seen. Boxers, no shirt, muscles, tattoos. He didn't flinch when he saw me, just raised one eyebrow and leaned against the frame like he owned the place. And behind him was Lily. She was in a bathrobe, sloppy mascara. Her face went white, then red. Then she bolted into the bathroom without saying a word. My mouth went dry, but I still held out the cookies like some idiot. Just dropping these off, I chirped. Hope you guys enjoy. He didn't say a word, just smirked and shut the door in my face. I drove around for nearly an hour afterward. My body was stuck in this strange numbness, like it was too much for my brain to process. I kept hearing her voice, my mom's boyfriend is rich. And now that voice had a face to go with it, an adult man, with my best friend, who was 17. I felt sick. The next morning, I told Haley. Haley was part of our friend group too, though not as close to Lily, but she was the smartest person I knew. She listened carefully, didn't say, "Are you sure?" or "Maybe it's not what it looks like." She just nodded and said, "We have to help her, even if she hates us for it." I didn't know what that meant exactly, but the next week, Haley signed up to give a health class presentation, one of those student-led extra credit things. She told the teacher she wanted to talk about online grooming. The room was full when she started. Posters about red flags, slides about manipulation, quotes from survivors. I sat near the back and watched Lily's face the whole time. She didn't blink. Her fingers clenched the edge of her desk. Her face flushed bright red. She looked like she was going to be sick. Halfway through, she got up and walked out. I followed. I found her in the bathroom, hunched over the sink, mascara streaming down her cheeks. Her body was shaking. After a full minute, she whispered, "He made me get rid of it." My stomach dropped. "Get rid of?" She nodded. "I was pregnant. A month ago. My mom doesn't know. Marcus, he took me to a clinic out of town. He said if I didn't, he'd tell everyone I was a slut." I felt like the floor cracked open beneath me. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the tile, arms wrapped around her knees. "He hits me sometimes. Not hard. Just to make a point. Says I need to learn respect." I crouched beside her, pulled her into my arms, and for the first time since we were little girls, Lily didn't fight the hug. She just sobbed. Big, ugly, soul-crushing sobs that made her whole body tremble. I didn't ask more questions. I just held her. I didn't care that the bell had rung, that class was starting, that the janitor would probably yell at us for being there, because that moment was bigger than all of it. This wasn't about friendship anymore. This was survival. And I knew what had to happen next. But what I didn't know, Frankie, was how much worse things were about to get. After what she told me in that bathroom, I knew there was no going back. Not to normalcy, not to pretending, not to school gossip or hallway glances. We'd crossed a line into something darker, something that needed real help. So the next morning, I skipped first period and walked Lily straight to Ms. Chen's office. Ms. Chen was the school counselor, one of the good ones, the rare adult who didn't just hand out pamphlets and nod along. She looked up as we walked in, and something in her face changed the second she saw us. Lily wouldn't speak at first. She sat there, hands folded so tight they turned red, eyes locked on the carpet. I did most of the talking. When I finished, Ms. Chen didn't blink. She just said, "Lily, if you're in danger, we can help, but I need you to say it." For a long moment, Lily was silent. Then she whispered, "He made me bleed." And that was it. Ms. Chen made 3 phone calls right there in front of us. One to the school social worker, one to CPS, and one to the women's shelter across town. She spoke in short, clipped sentences, full of urgency but not panic. Within the hour, a woman named Vanessa arrived. She was calm, mid-30s, with a scarf wrapped around her curls and a clipboard in one hand. She crouched in front of Lily and said, "We've got a place for you. Somewhere safe. You won't be alone, and he won't be able to reach you there." Lily didn't speak, but she nodded. That was all Vanessa needed. They let me ride with them to the shelter. It was on a quiet residential street behind a locked gate with no sign. The inside was cozy. Clean couches, soft lighting, walls painted pale yellow. Not what I expected. It didn't feel like an institution. It felt like someone tried to build a home out of heartbreak. Lily had to give a statement. It was the hardest thing I've ever watched. She didn't cry this time, just recited facts like she'd turned off every emotion in her body. She talked about Marcus, about how it started with compliments, how he bought her makeup and called her special, how it slowly became control, isolation, bruises, the forced abortion. "I thought I was the one messing up," she said, voice like ash, "but he made me feel like I owed him everything." Afterward, Vanessa hugged her and said, "That's not love, sweetheart. That's grooming, and it's not your fault." Lily nodded, but I could tell. She didn't believe it yet. That night, I stayed until the shelter made me leave. I held her hand and promised I'd be back the next day, and I meant it. But what I didn't know was that the monster we thought was behind us wasn't done yet. That night, Marcus showed up outside my house. I was in the kitchen when the headlights hit the window. I peeked through the blinds and saw the car, a black sedan with tinted windows, idling across the street. My mom noticed too. "Do you know that car?" I shook my head. Probably just lost. But I knew it wasn't. It was him. I didn't sleep again. The next morning the car was gone, but later that afternoon, as I was leaving school, he was waiting for me in the parking lot. At first I didn't recognize him. He wasn't the same smirking man from Lily's porch. He looked furious. He leaned against the hood of his car and called out, "You Zoe?" I froze. My stomach twisted into knots. He smiled, sharp and empty. You think you're a hero? I didn't answer. I just walked faster. You know, he said, his voice following me, you're making things worse for her. You don't understand the situation? I turned around. I understand she's 17, and you're a predator. His smile vanished. His eyes turned dark. He took one step forward and said, low and steady, you should be careful who you make enemies of. I made it to the main road and sprinted the rest of the way to Haley's car. I didn't even breathe until we were 2 blocks away. Haley gripped the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. He threatened you? I nodded. Okay, she said. Then we go public. We called Miss Chen, who helped us file a report with the police. But because he hadn't physically harmed me, there wasn't much they could do right away. We saved the texts he sent later that night. Screenshots time-stamped. One said, tell your little friend to come home or you'll both be sorry. It didn't matter that we had proof. He was still out there. Then things got worse. He found Lily's mom, Mrs. Foster. She hadn't believed any of it. When Lily left home, Marcus told her that we were manipulating her, that we were jealous, that we were filling her head with lies to turn her against her own family. And Mrs. Foster, exhausted, overworked, and desperate to believe her boyfriend wasn't a monster, bought it. She started texting Lily horrible things. You've always been dramatic. He's not like that. You'll regret this. It nearly broke Lily. She cried herself to sleep at the shelter 2 nights in a row, until Vanessa offered a solution. Let's bring her in, she said. Let your mom hear the truth from your own mouth. No intermediaries. Just you, her, and a caseworker present. Lily agreed. So the next day, Mrs. Foster came to the shelter. She looked tired. Her mascara was smudged. She walked in like she was ready for a fight. But when she saw her daughter, something changed. Lily had bruises on her upper arms, fading but still visible. She had scratches on her wrists. Her hair was limp. Her voice was soft. And she said, Mom, he raped me. The room fell silent. Mrs. Foster's eyes filled with tears. What? He said I owed him, Lily whispered. And when I said no, he hit me. I kept thinking maybe if I did what he wanted, he'd stop, but it never stopped. You weren't home. You didn't see. Her mother collapsed into a chair like someone had cut her strings. She stayed for hours. They cried. They yelled. They talked. But by the end, Mrs. Foster looked like she'd aged a decade, and she finally believed her daughter. She left the shelter and went straight to the courthouse, filed for a restraining order, kicked Marcus out that same night. But he didn't take the hint. He started showing up near their house, sitting in his car, engine running, watching, sometimes for hours, sometimes with the headlights off. He never tried to come in, never said a word. But the message was clear. I'm not gone. I watched Mrs. Foster fall apart over those next few days. She started staying at the shelter too. She and Lily shared a room. They tried to cook dinner together, tried to reclaim some semblance of normalcy, but every time a car drove by, they both flinched. Eventually, it became too much. The shelter's legal advocate, a soft-spoken man named Raj, helped arrange for them to move to a temporary hotel funded by a protection grant. They stayed for a few days, and then the big decision came. A school transfer, a new district, a new apartment, a clean break. Lily sat across from me and Haley at our last coffee meetup before she left. She stirred her drink slowly, not even sipping it, just thinking. I never thought this would be my life, she said. I didn't know what to say. Neither did Haley. Lily looked up. He knew what he was doing. He knew my mom worked nights, knew I'd be alone, knew I wanted to feel special. You are special, I said. She gave a weak smile. Maybe, but I was also really, really lonely. We sat in silence for a long time. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out the silver bracelet I gave her in 8th grade, the one with the tiny butterfly charm. This, she said, is the only gift I'm keeping. That moment almost broke me. They left 2 days later, and for a week we didn't hear anything. Haley and I worried she'd gone dark, that maybe he'd found them, that maybe the trauma had swallowed her whole. But then, out of nowhere, a text from a new number. Hey, I'm okay. New town, new school. I told the cops everything. Turns out Marcus lied about everything. His name, his age, even his job. They're building a case. Thank you for not giving up on me. L, The text from Lily should have brought relief. Instead, it brought a strange mix of guilt, fear, and something I couldn't name. She was safe, yes, but the silence leading up to it had carved a hole in me. I read it again, even now, and it still gives me chills, because it means we weren't crazy. We were right to be afraid, and he was even more dangerous than we knew. The week that followed was a blur. Haley threw herself into activism, signing up for a youth advocacy program, posting grooming awareness resources online, getting into arguments with strangers who commented things like, "But she was old enough to know better." I wanted to do the same, but I couldn't stop thinking about Lily's face. The way she looked in the bathroom mirror when she whispered what he'd done, the flatness in her voice, like something in her had gone missing, and she wasn't sure if it would ever come back. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow, just in case. And then one morning, 8 days since her message, Lily FaceTimed us. Her face filled the screen. At first, I didn't recognize her. Her hair was pulled back. Her skin looked clearer. She wore a plain sweatshirt with no designer label, and her expression was grounded. Not happy, not sad. Just her again. "Hey," she said. "Sorry for disappearing. I needed time." I asked if she was okay. She smiled. A real one this time. "Better," she said. "I'm still jumpy. I check every car that drives by, but there's this counselor here. Her name's Mia. She's been through it too. She gets it." I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until I heard that. Haley, of course, asked about school. Lily shrugged. "It's weird being the new kid again. I don't tell people anything, but there's this girl in my English class who lent me a highlighter on day 1 and now acts like we're soulmates. It's kinda nice." She showed us her room, a shared space at a housing center near the shelter's sister facility. It had bunk beds, a corkboard full of encouraging quotes, and a tiny desk where she was already collecting sticky notes and pens. There was one thing missing. "Where's the bracelet?" I asked. Lily held up her wrist, and there it was. Our old friendship bracelet, silver and simple, the butterfly charm catching the light. She said, "Still the only thing that makes me feel like myself." We talked for an hour, laughed a little, cried a little. At the end, she said, "I miss you guys, but I know I can't come back yet." We told her we understood, but then came the part that changed everything. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice dropping. "About Marcus." We listened in silence. Turns out the name Marcus wasn't real. His legal name was Eric Lonsdale, and he had a sealed record in another state, some kind of plea deal from over a decade ago. But when Lily told the detective everything, including the abortion, the threats, the bruises, he opened a larger investigation. That's when they found 2 other girls. Same pattern, different cities. One in Ohio, one in Arizona. Both had stories nearly identical to Lily's. A mom working long hours, a charming boyfriend who started buying the daughter things, then slowly turned controlling and abusive. I felt cold all over. "Why wasn't he in jail?" I asked. "Because people like him don't look like criminals," Lily said. "They look like boyfriends. They look like family." A pause. Then, "But now there's a detective, Patel. He's building a case. I don't know if it'll stick, but at least someone's trying." That night, Haley and I stayed on the phone for hours, even after Lily hung up. "I want him to rot," Haley said. "So do I," I whispered. But there was something else eating at me, something I couldn't shake. "Do you think she's safe enough?" I asked. "I think she's safer," she said, "but that man's a ghost, and ghosts have a way of finding cracks." The next few days were calm, too calm. We kept in touch with Lily through texts. She started therapy, joined a small support group, even applied for a volunteer position at the library. It was like watching someone relearn how to breathe after being underwater for too long. Then one night, Mrs. Foster called me. I was surprised. We hadn't talked since the day she visited the shelter. Her voice was soft. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, "for seeing what I couldn't." I didn't know what to say. She continued, "I blamed you. I thought you were stealing my daughter. I was so tired, so overwhelmed. I didn't see what was right in front of me." There was a long pause. "Zoe," she said, "I let a predator into my home. I let him touch my child. I can never undo that." "You didn't know," I said. though my throat felt tight. But I should have, she said. I should have asked more questions, should have noticed the changes. Another silence. I sleep with a bat next to the bed now, she added, her voice cracking. It was in that moment that I realized something. Survivors aren't just the victims. They're the people who have to live with what they didn't stop. The next week, we all got subpoenas. Lily, Mrs. Foster, and even me and Haley. Detective Patel had gathered enough for a formal case. They were moving forward with charges. The other girls from Ohio and Arizona had agreed to testify. And Lily. Lily was going to be the face of it. That terrified me. I don't want her to go through it again, I said to Haley. She already is, Haley replied. This time, at least, she's fighting back. The hearing was scheduled for 2 months out. We started prepping with a victim advocate named Natalie. She explained what the court would be like, what Marcus's lawyer might say, how trauma can twist memory, and how defense attorneys will try to use that. I hated every second of it. But Lily? She sat through every session, took notes, asked questions, even requested to review her own police transcript so she wouldn't contradict herself on the stand. I won't let him spin this, she said. Not again. She looked stronger than I'd ever seen her, but there was one moment, just one, when I saw the fear crack through. We were on video chat. She was telling me about her new math class. Then she paused. I saw a car outside the shelter the other night, she said. My stomach dropped. Did you tell someone? Yeah. The staff logged it, said it could have been a coincidence, but it had the same shape, same dents. Do you think it was him? She didn't answer, but that was answer enough. You ever look at someone you love and not recognize them in the best possible way? That's what it was like when Haley and I stepped off the bus in Lily's new town 2 weeks later. She was waiting for us outside the little coffee shop she'd mentioned, wrapped in a fuzzy cardigan, hair tied up, earbuds dangling from her neck. But it wasn't just the clothes, or her healthier skin, or even the calm way she stood there sipping her drink. It was her posture, straight, like someone who had spent months carrying shame and had finally set it down. She hugged us both tight. I could feel her ribs beneath her sweater. She was still recovering physically, but her grip was strong. You look, I started to say, then trailed off. I know, she said. It feels weird too. We sat inside for hours. She ordered a latte and kept fidgeting with the butterfly charm on her bracelet. At one point, she said, I almost threw this out after the abortion. I didn't feel like I deserved to keep it. I reached over and gently tapped her wrist. You deserved better the whole time. We just had to help you remember. She smiled without flinching. I know that now. We talked about everything. Her support group, the shelter's community nights, how she and her mom were going to therapy together, but it wasn't until she pulled out the letter that I realized just how far she'd come. It was one she'd written for court, not for the judge, for Marcus. I'm allowed to read a victim impact statement, she said. They said I can't speak to him directly, but I can read this. Want to hear it? We nodded. She unfolded the page and began. To the man who stole my voice, you thought you could make me disappear. You thought a few gifts, a few bruises, and a few threats would keep me under control. And for a while, you were right. But I'm not that girl anymore. I am not your secret. I am not your guilt. I am not your mistake. I am the one who lived. I couldn't hold back the tears. Neither could Haley. Lily wiped her eyes and laughed softly. Guess I'll need waterproof mascara for court. The hearing was set for the following Thursday. It wasn't a trial yet, just a preliminary hearing to decide whether the case had enough to move forward, but Marcus would be there, in the same room. Are you scared? I asked her that night as we sat on the floor of her room. Yes, she said without hesitation, but not of him. Then what? Of falling apart, she whispered, of feeling like that powerless girl again. You won't, I said, grabbing her hand, because now you know you're not alone. That courtroom was full, not just with lawyers and reporters, but with Lily's new support group, shelter advocates, her mom, and us. Haley wore a blazer for the first time in her life. I had a notebook full of dates, just in case I got called as a witness. We were ready. Marcus entered with 2 lawyers, clean-shaven and smug, like he was strolling into a boardroom. I felt sick. But Lily? She sat upright, composed. Like someone who knew this wasn't the end, but the beginning of something bigger than fear, Detective Patel laid out everything. The fake name, the multiple aliases, the prior accusations, the matching stories from girls in 3 different states, the medical documentation of Lily's abortion, the shelter records, the photos of bruises. And then Lily took the stand. She read her statement with her hands only shaking once. When she said, "I am the one who lived," a woman in the second row, one of the shelter volunteers, clapped once before the judge told the room to remain silent. Marcus didn't look at her. Coward. His lawyers tried to cast doubt, said she was emotionally unstable, that there was no proof he coerced her, that the relationship was misunderstood, that the abortion was consensual, but the judge wasn't buying it. They ruled the case would proceed to trial. Marcus was denied bail based on flight risk and the pattern of behavior. He was let out of the room in cuffs. The sound of the shackles was the most satisfying thing I've ever heard. When it was over, we walked outside into the sunlight. Lily leaned against the wall, breathing deep, like someone just surfaced from a long swim. "What now?" she asked. "You keep healing," I said. "We keep showing up." She looked down at her bracelet. "I'm never taking this off," she said. It's been 6 months since the hearing. Lily didn't return to our school. She didn't need to. She's thriving where she is. She's applying to colleges next year, wants to study psychology, says maybe she'll become a counselor like Vanessa, help girls like her. Marcus's trial is coming up this fall. The other girls are testifying too. Lily's statement went viral on a survivor support website, anonymous of course, but it's already helped 3 more girls come forward. Mrs. Foster is sober now. She stopped working doubles, says she's focused on being a mom again, a real one. And me? I still keep the screenshots, the photos, the court documents. Not because I want to relive it, but because it reminds me what friendship actually means. It's not about matching bracelets or inside jokes or shopping at the same stores. It's about looking someone in the eye when they've given up on themselves and choosing to believe in them anyway. It's about holding space for their story, no matter how dark it gets. It's about saying, "You don't have to disappear. I won't let you. If you made it this far, thanks for riding with me. If you love real, messy, emotional stories like this, go ahead and hit subscribe." There's always another confession waiting in the back seat.